Today on Law Weekly, we look at issues of access to quality justice in the country. We also have a recap of some of the top stories from the courts. In our interview segment, we chat with the Managing Director of Law Pavilion, the ICT partner for the fast-approaching general elections of the Nigerian Bar Association. We talk about some of the key issues that lawyers have with the e-voting process. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Shola Sheyeli. The Chief Justice of Nigeria, Justice Mahmood Mohammed, wants Nigerians to refrain from the constant criticism of the judiciary and instead celebrate more of the positives from the bench. The constant criticisms have far-reaching negative implications on the entire country and has the potential to discourage foreign direct investment, which the country urgently needs right now. Justice Kudirat Kekereekun made this comment on behalf of the CJN at a public lecture held in Lagos recently. The lecture, which focused on the justice sector, was chaired by a retired justice of the Supreme Court and former chairman of the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission, Justice Emmanuel Ayola. Here's the report.
Access to quality justice in Nigeria is the theme of this public lecture, which has brought these vibrant group of judges, lawyers and members of civil society, the media and others together in Lagos. It's the maiden edition of a lecture series hosted by a non-partisan, non-governmental organization, United Action for Change, which the convener says is conceived to regularly engage stakeholders and experts in different sectors of the economy on various issues geared at national rebirth, to create a backroom channel for engagement with government while also enabling a platform for feedback mechanisms from the governed.
Today's effort became more imperative due to two basic developments in recent times, and I'm sure this certainly form part of the basis for convening today's discourse. And the story or the narrative goes thus. One, a judge gave a judgment in a particular state in which the state government was involved, and judgment somehow went against the state government. Unfortunately for the judge, some few months thereafter, the said judge fell ill and had to be operated upon abroad. Inevitably, funding had to be sourced, and the file ended up on the table of the chief executive of that state. Of course, you can imagine what could have happened. Somehow along the line, an overzealous subordinate suddenly drew the attention of the chief executive to the fact that was the judge that gave that judgment that time. What now happened to that particular file? Of course, the governor was reported to have vindictively flung the judge files away as an enemy of the state. While the independence of the judiciary is important, it is equally imperative to examine the state of the judiciary itself in terms of not only the welfare but in terms of the delivery. We are of the opinion that it is necessary to extract other stumbling blocks to access to quality justice, which might be in terms of corruption, as well as the attitude of the justice, as well as other administrative staff. These are part of the reason why this public lecture is organized, to ensure that the hallowed temple of justice is never desecrated in the interest of all of us.
The chairman of the event, Justice Emmanuel Ayola, believes that for there to be quality justice, the average Nigerian must seek to become a quality person.
Justice should not need qualification. Anything that qualifies justice is an exaggeration. Justice must be justice. The average Nigerian must aspire to become a quality person in himself, who will seek quality justice before a quality judge, a quality judge who will have a quality legal practitioner practicing before him. I believe that we started Nigeria when Nigeria started with quality justice. I believe that Nigeria of the past had people who were not even learned in law dispensing justice. It is because Nigerians and Nigeria are beginning to forget their origins that we need to gather to talk about quality justice.
On the role of judicial officers in access to and dispensation of quality justice, The point was made that a lot is being done to reform the judiciary, and there is therefore a need to change the narrative about the Nigerian judiciary.
I believe that while it is very positive to look for ways of improving access to justice, we must stop denigrating our judiciary. I say this because, as we all know, the judiciary is the last hope of the common man. And when at every available opportunity, all we emphasize are the negative aspects of our judicial system, it doesn't do any good for our country. We know that there are problems, we will face those problems. But in this age of internet technology or communication technology, imagine anybody, a foreigner who wants to know about the Nigerian judiciary, they go onto the internet. Most of the time, what you find are all the things that are wrong. We are on a journey. There's a process. Efforts are being made to improve, but I think it's also important to celebrate the things that are good about our judiciary.
For the legal practitioners who contributed to the discussion, access to quality justice must go hand in hand with the issues of exit from justice.
It is a known fact that Nigeria has had difficulty, great difficulty, in bringing to book wealthy people or politicians. You don't need any example. The examples are all there. You can see the trial of the Senate president. They're all there. No progress. And at least in that, we as lawyers, we should have the humility to accept that we are to blame. When I practice in England, nobody tells me how to delay because the timetable is the timetable. It's impossible for a judge to come for a day to sit and then I turn up and say I'm looking for an adjournment. It is impossible. I have no experience in almost 30 years of it happening. It is just not. So why is that inevitable in this society? The worst are those who write letters. They don't even have the humility to turn up. They write a letter to the court and say, I'm sorry, I'm in a superior court somewhere, I cannot attend. I don't know since when that became a reason not to turn up. No one ever teaches any law student that if you have a case in the Supreme Court and you have one in the High Court, you shouldn't attend the High Court. But unfortunately, I understand that if the High Court judge were to strike it out because that person did not turn up, the Supreme Court will restore it and rebuke the High Court judge for doing what it's supposed to do. So how can you run such a system?
I say process review, first of all. So we cut down the time it takes for processes to move within the system. Better record keeping. The record keeping is appalling. Files are piling up. Some of them are mildewed. You know, we should start converting that to digital by now. And I did it when I was the Commissioner of Lands. We moved all our COOs, some of them as far back as 1857, onto e-platforms. So it can be done. Then you may get to court and they say the judge has gone on retreat. Retreat somewhere, abroad, Singapore, whatever. Meanwhile, when you were taking the dates, you were given no notice that there will be a retreat. And I think that's an unfortunate choice of word, retreat, because it means moving back from reality. It is not fair, and that's probably why we haven't gotten much out of it. So it is not fair to the parties. It is not fair to parties, especially coming from wherever. And then you get there, they say the judge is not sitting. Or they have gone to represent the CJ at some event. The courts are not supposed to be like any other organization. No. They are not. So you can't, in the regular civil service, I can delegate my powers of signing file, right, to my junior officer, right? I can do that. So if I go on retreat, I have somebody doing it. But you can't do that in the judiciary. So we must be more conscious of the impact of certain administrative decisions that we take.